Welcome back to another class on the treasures of Mishnayot. We are in Mishnayot of Berachot, Perek Zayin, Mishna Aleph. This will be part 3 of the Shi'ur. We did begin the Mishnah, where the Mishnah begins and it states, Shelosha shachlu ke'echad chayavin lezamen. If you have 3 people that ate together, they are obligated to do zimun. Shelosha shachlu ke'echad chayavin lezamen. We saw this whole teaching at length in part 1 of the Shi'ur. Then the Mishnah continues, Achal demai. What happens if a person ate produce of demai? We said you are able to join him to be part of the zimun. This case over here, Achal demai, where we did see this also in part 1 of the Shi'ur in full detail. Then we did see, Umaser rishon shenitla trumato. What happens if a person ate from produce of Maaser Rishon, Shenit lo trumato, this case right over here, which was discussed in full detail in part 2 of the Shi'ur. Today we want to move on to part 3 of the Shi'ur, which is going to be, the Mishnah is going to tell us, Maaser Sheni ve'Hekdesh nifdu. If you have Maaser Sheni and Hekdesh, which were redeemed. Now, small introduction. We did Maaser Sheni in part 1 of the class, and we also did Maaser Sheni in part 2 of the class. I made a whole chart. As a small introduction, Maaser Sheni is in the 7-year cycle, in the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th year, we're going to tell the owner he has to take the second 10% for himself. Because remember, the Maaser Rishon goes to the Levi, which is the first 10%. But the Maaser Sheni, the second 10%, has to be taken for himself. Now, the catch with Maaser Sheni produce is like this. That if a person cannot take it up to Yerushalayim because of the derech, because of the way, remind you, to travel to Yerushalayim from wherever you lived, no planes, no bus, no cars, they had donkeys, they had horses. These things complicated it even more. So imagine if you have produce, even let's say if you have 100 pounds of produce that you want to take up to Yerushalayim, still requires a lot of exertion on your part. Now, the law is, as we're going to see, that Maaser Sheni produce must be eaten in Yerushalayim. However, if a person is not able to take the Maaser Sheni to Yerushalayim because it is complicated to get it there, because it's going to be hard, whatever the reason might be, the Torah allows us to go ahead and redeem the Maaser Sheni produce onto money. However, there is a catch, and the catch is like this. The Torah obligates us to go ahead and add a 5th to the worth of the Maaser Sheni produce. So let's just say if I have produce in front of me which is worth $1,000, that is the value. I have to go ahead and I have to take $1,000 plus an extra $200 because I have to add a 5th onto the value. Take $1,200 in one hand, and I'm going to say that these Maaser Sheni produce is being redeemed onto these money. So that means this Maaser Sheni produce now becomes chulin, it becomes regular food. I could eat it outside the Yerushalayim. However, the 1,200 now has the Maaser Sheni sanctity. What do I do with the money? Now it's easier because you take $1,200, you put it in your pocket, and now you go to Yerushalayim. Once you get to Yerushalayim, you go ahead and you buy the produce and you eat the produce in Yerushalayim. This is Maaser Sheni. Same thing with Hekdesh. Hekdesh literally means anything one consecrates. It could be sheep, it could be food, it could be an item, it could be anything. Now let's say if a person consecrated something worth $10,000. And now he thinks to himself, he's like, wow, I'm not going to be able to bring everything up. It's too much. It's a lot of exertion on my part. Good. We're going to tell him he's allowed to go ahead and he's allowed to redeem. He's allowed to redeem the Hekdesh, whatever he consecrated, onto the money. So let's say if the Hekdesh was $10,000, we're going to tell him the same thing, Rabotai. Take 10,000, give me a 5th of 10,000, it's going to be 2,000. So he's going to have to go ahead and he's going to have to take $12,000. And he's going to have to go ahead and he's going to deconsecrate from the Hekdesh, whatever he consecrated, onto the money. Now this becomes regular food or whatever, or even let's say if it was an animal, becomes a regular animal, you could sell it, you could slaughter it, You can do whatever you want with it. But you have to take the $12,000, you have to go to Yerushalayim, and now you have to go ahead and purchase whatever you deconsecrated, and then you're going to go ahead and give it to the Beit HaMikdash. So this is what we want to see today. So what we really want to see is like this. What happens if a person went ahead and he ate from Maser Sheni produce where it was not fully deconsecrated? What do I mean? For example, the guy didn't know that you have to give a fifth. Same thing with Hekdesh. A person didn't know you have to go ahead and you have to give a fifth. He forgot. So what did he do? He took the Maser Sheni produce. He said, look, the rabbi said I'm allowed to do it. So here I am, I'm doing it. The Maser Sheni produce is becoming deconsecrated. I'm redeeming it and I'm putting it onto the $1,000. But he forgot you have to add $200 more, right? According to the value what we're dealing with now. Now what happens? Now I went and I ate off this Maser Sheni produce. Are you allowed to use me to be part of the Zimun when you guys wanted to go ahead and do the Zimun? So that's what we want to see today. And it's also by Hekdesh. What happens if a person went ahead and he redeemed the consecrated item, but he didn't redeem it to the full $12,000, what he was supposed to do, but rather he redeemed it to $10,000 only? Can you go ahead and if you went ahead and you, let's say if you benefited from that, let's say the guy went ahead and he had a lot of flour and he wanted to go ahead and consecrate the flour to the Beit HaMikdash, for example, and it was a lot of flour, worth $10,000, but when he redeemed the flour, he didn't redeem it onto $12,000. He redeemed it onto $10,000. Now he takes the $10,000, he's going to go to Yerushalayim, he's going to buy the flour there, etc. But what happens with this flour that's left behind? And I went and I ate from this flour, where the extra $2,000 was not redeemed yet. Are you allowed to go ahead and join me to be part of the Zimun? This is what we want to try to see today. So the Mishnah in the Kahati begins, U'maser Sheni ve'Hekdesh nifdu. If you had Maser Sheni and Hekdesh that were redeemed, Kvar hizcharnu lamala, shemaser Sheni dino la'aloto Yerushalayim ve'lochlo sham. We already explained above that when it comes to Maser Sheni, which is this right over here, which the owner himself has to go ahead and take the second 10% for himself on the first, second, fourth, and fifth year. He has to bring it up to Yerushalayim and has to eat it there. That is the rule when it comes to Maser Sheni. So one more time. Maser Sheni produce must be eaten in Yerushalayim. However, he says, V'im kasher adam, but if it's difficult for a person, lahalot et perot ha'maser Yerushalayim. If it's hard for a person to bring the produce of the Maser Sheni to Yerushalayim, Harehu podeh otam b'kesef. He's able to go ahead and he's able to redeem them with money. Umalet dameh hapidyon, and he's able to go ahead and bring up the redemption money liYerushalayim, to Yerushalayim. Umotziam sham al divrei chila v'shti, and let him go ahead and let him use the money there for food and drink. La'achar shenivdu haperot shel Maser Sheni, once the Maser Sheni produce was redeemed, Mutar lo le'ochlam b'chol makom. You're allowed to eat this Maser Sheni produce anywhere. V'chein davar shehukdash laHashem efshar livdato b'kesef. And so too, something which is consecrated to Hashem, you are able to go ahead and you are able to redeem it unto money. Right over here, Hekdesh. V'hu yotzeh l'chulin. And this consecrated item, it comes out to be mundane. V'kesef ha'pidyon na'aseh Hekdesh. Now the kesef, the redemption money, that becomes kadosh, that becomes holy. Baram, however, he says, Hapodeh maser sheni shelo, v'chen hapodeh hekdesho. Anybody who redeems his own maser sheni, and anyone who redeems his own consecrated item, tzarich lehosiv chomesh al demei pidyono. You need to add a fifth on the redemption money, like I explained. Uba Mishnatenu lashmi, and comes our Mishnah to teach us, she'im achal pirod maser sheni. If a person went ahead and he ate produce of maser sheni, or hekdesh, or if you ate produce of consecrated items, shenifdu, where they were redeemed, afa pi shepaduum leloto sevda chomesh, even though you redeemed it, but without adding on it the fifth, en hachomesh me'akev, the chomesh, the fifth, does not hold you back. And you are able to go ahead and you are able to join him to be part of the Zimun. This is the Mishnah for today. These two concepts, like I explained, Rabotai, in part 1, there are many concepts we have to learn before we could do the whole Mishnah. So this is going to be the Mishnah for today. Let me just do it one more time over here, and then I'll read it inside in the Mishnah above, and then we're going to conclude with that. So we started speaking about today Ma'aser Sheni ve'Hekdesh shenifda'u. If you have Ma'aser Sheni produce, which is redeemed, you have to redeem it, but you also have to add a fifth. Ve'Hekdesh, similar concept. Anything one consecrates, same concept. If you want to go ahead and you want to redeem the Hekdesh, let's say it's worth $10,000, you have to redeem it unto $12,000. So I wrote over here, deconsecrated it on money. When you're deconsecrating, whether the Ma'aser Sheni produce or whether the Hekdesh, anything one consecrates, it doesn't matter, the Ma'aser Sheni or the Hekdesh, when you deconsecrated it on money, or if you're redeeming them onto money, why are you doing it? Because it is a burden to bring everything up to Yerushalayim. You have to go ahead, the Torah obligates 1/5 of the value to be added. Like I explained. But the Ma'aser Sheni money, no. By the Ma'aser Sheni produce, if the value of the produce is 1,000, you have to redeem it unto 1,200. If by the Hekdesh is 10,000, you have to redeem the Hekdesh unto 12,000. What happens with the Ma'aser Sheni produce? It becomes like regular food. What happens with the consecrated item that you consecrated becomes like regular food. But rather what? The money over here becomes kadosh. You have to take it up to Yerushalayim. The money of the redemption over here by the Ma'aser Sheni becomes also, has a sanctity of Ma'aser Sheni produce. So you have to take up to Yerushalayim and buy food and drink and have it there in Yerushalayim. The Mishnah is teaching us over here what happened in our case. The person did the redemption. However, the person did not add. Still, you are able to do zimun with him. That is what the Mishnah is teaching us today. So let's do the Mishnah on top one more time from the beginning. If you have 3 people that they sat to eat together, they are obligated to do zimun. We did see this in part 1 of the shiur in full detail. If a person went ahead and he ate produce of demai, we explained that you are able to go ahead and join him to be part of the zimun. This we also saw in part 1 of the shiur in full detail. If a person ate from Maaser Rishon, Shenitlo Trumoto, if you ate from that type of produce, you are able to also go ahead and join him to be part of the zimun. That we saw in part 2 of the shiur in full detail. In today's class, Ma'aser Sheni ve'Hekdesh shenifda'u, if you had Ma'aser Sheni, if a person went ahead and he ate from Ma'aser Sheni and a Hekdesh where they were redeemed, but they were not redeemed according to the law of Torah, meaning the 5th was not given, nevertheless, we're going to tell you, you are allowed to go ahead and you're allowed to do zimun with them. Okay, Rabotai?